What's up, guys? Out in the middle of nowhere. Got dark by like 6, so that's fun. Anyway, I'm gonna do an Iceberg video. Always wanted to do one and love them. Love Wendigo and love all those sappy idiots out there who do Iceberg videos. I wrote a 21-page long script and I recorded it in my dorm room, but I hated it. It sounded horrible. I sounded like a pencil-necked nerd. The sound quality was abysmal, so now I'm in a car and I'm just gonna freelance it because I know everything on this tier. So this is the ultimate creepy and disturbing media iceberg by Night Owl 19. Wow. And so we're gonna do tier 1 today. If this gets a little bit of traction, I'll do all the rest of it. But tier 1 right now is just The Outsider, which is something basically everyone knows. You know, if you have been alive for any amount of time, you know at least one of these, one of these entries. So number 1, we've got A Clockwork Orange, and it was made by Stanley Kubrick back in 1970 something. It follows like a deranged delinquent named Alex, and he goes around, commits crimes with his gang, like raping and beating up old people. And then eventually he is captured by the government and undergoes an experimental rehabilitation program where they peel his eyes open and make him watch graphic stuff so he feels sick whenever he thinks about it. A Nightmare on Elm Street is a classic horror movie, one a long line of franchises. Basically, this guy was a child murderer. His name's Freddy Krueger. He got out of jail, so the parents of the murdered children... Why does my car sound like that? Huh. The parents of the murdered children track him down and burn him alive, and now he is a dream demon that haunts the children of Elm Street's dreams and kills them in their dreams, which is the main disturbing part. You know, there's violence and stuff, but it's mainly the dream stuff. Akira is an anime film that follows a psychic named Tetsuo as he battles the military and gangs in post-apocalyptic Japan. The real big scene, the final big graphic scene in this film is where Tetsuo loses control of his psychic powers and he becomes this big flesh monster baby thing. And he crushes people and it's gross. If you look up Akira on YouTube, you're gonna get that, so... Alien, another classic. It's the Alien film besides E.T. And it's got the classic xenomorph, alright? It follows Ripley as she goes into space on some spaceship. They find the alien. It's got the chest burster scene. Alien pops out of a guy's chest. It's got the xenomorph, classic, designed by H.R. Geiger. Classic film. Again, disturbing, alien, blood, American Psycho is an adaptation of a book that's basically just torture porn, but the movie is kind of a commentary on the Sigma grind set. Patrick Bateman is a psychotic businessman in New York. He goes around, he murders people, he beats women, and then at the end it's revealed to be all in the head. It's all in Patrick Bateman's head. What was real? I don't know. I've seen it. It's not really disturbing. Again, I'm not going to say that for every entry, but tier 1 is not that disturbing, okay? It's basic baby stuff. Candyman is the film following Helen. She's writing her college thesis on urban legends. And an urban legend, Candyman, is popular in the low-income neighborhoods of Chicago. So she goes there, summons Candyman by saying his name 5 times in a mirror. And it follows the titular Candyman tracking her down. He's a African-American man who was a slave-born guy who got in relations with his, I think his master's, it's just some white woman, I know. And they cut his hand off and killed him, so now he's going around. Again, graphic, trippy, pretty disturbing. Child's Play, of course. Charles Lee Ray is murdered. He's a serial killer, by the way, that's important. And he puts his soul into a good guy doll, who is then bought and brought to a family. The good guy doll is, of course, a murderer, and goes around and stabs people. And it's got a bunch of movies. None of them are that good, but I don't want to beat on Child's Play. Devil on Bald Mountain from Fantasia is a segment from 1940s Fantasia. And basically a big demon named Cherubald pops out of Bald Mountain, and he's massive, and he throws lightning, and little demons come out of his fingertips, and it's got this big bombastic score that I can't play for you. And if I was a kid, I'd probably pee-pee and poo-poo into my pants if I saw Cherubald. But it's really good animation, you know. Final Destination, all the movies have the same basic plot. A group of people escape death, and then death tracks them down and kills them in very, very elaborate situations, usually very gory and bloody. Pretty good movies. Just watch the death scenes on YouTube. Just watch Final Destination death scene compilation on YouTube. And yeah, I still can't drive behind a log truck without thinking about Final Destination 2, where a log punches a guy's head in through his car. Friday the 13th is a very, very boring film franchise, okay? None of them get interesting till like the 6th movie, all right? I've seen them all. It follows Jason, hockey mask, machete, classic slasher guy, as he goes around and murders people. I know, big whoop. That's really it. Gremlins, a guy named Billy gets a Mogwai and names it Gizmo. Mogwais are little small guys. He's got a set of rules he has to follow. Guess what? He doesn't follow them. The Mogwais multiply, and then they feed, and they transform into gremlins, which go around and rip up cars and murder old women. It's a silly movie, all right, but it's still, you know, it's there. Halloween, another slasher following Michael Myers. He goes around and stabs people. It's Halloween. I Know What You Did Last Summer, another slasher, but this time it takes itself a little less seriously. It's kind of like Scream, except a little worse. Scream's actually on here. It follows a group of friends. They driving down the road, hit a guy, dump him off the dock. The guy is evil and comes back and murders them all with a hook. So, not all of them, most of them. Jaws, the shark movie by Steven Spielberg. First summer blockbuster. First big shark movie. Now we've got like The Meg and The Meg 2 and Sharktopus and stuff. Anyway, you know, small coastal town in Maine gets terrorized by Bruce the shark. Eats people, kills children, takes big hunks out of drunk sailors. It inspired a lot of fear, okay? All right, it inspired a lot of fear. Joker, 2019 film following Arthur Fleck, I think it's Fleck, played by Joaquin Phoenix, and he's a Sigma male who is beaten down by society because he's a schizo. And the movie just follows him slowly losing sanity until he murders a guy on primetime television. It's pretty good, you know. A lot of white guys relate to him. I relate to him. So he's basically me. Jurassic Park, awesome dinosaurs eat people. That's the plot. It's scary. I was scared of it when I was a kid, so. Paranormal Activity is a found footage horror film. One that really, really kicked off the found footage franchise, in my opinion. Because before, yeah, you had found footage, but none of it was like, they didn't put any money into it. But after this movie made $200 million, that's real. It made like 1,000 times profit. They started pumping these puppies out. It follows a couple as they set up cameras in their house to capture paranormal activity. And it's a That's basically it for an hour. There's not much to it. Poltergeist is about a family being haunted by poltergeists. I mean, there's creepy clowns. There's a pool of real human skeletons. Yes, they just bought those from India back in the day. And then there's the classic, "They're here." I don't know too much about the movie, honestly. I haven't seen it, but, you know, I heard it's pretty scary if you're like a kid. Psycho, 1960s, Alfred Hitchcock classic, follows the Bates Motel story as Mr. Bates goes around and murders people and keeps his mom's corpse in the closet. And, you know, it's got the classic shower stabbing scene where it goes, you know it. Saw, one of my personal favorites, is basically the plot of all the movies are Jigsaw captures a bunch of people, group of people, and puts them in traps where they have to mutilate or physically harm themselves or others in order to escape and live. I'll give you an example. From the second movie, the opening scene is this guy. He's in a Venus flytrap looking thing, and he has a key behind his eye right here. So he has a scalpel. Do you dig out your eye and get the key to unlock it, or do you just let yourself die? He did what I would do. I would also not do that. So he dies. But that's a good example. I feel like that's a standard Saw trap. Scream is what really revitalized the slasher genre. It is by the guy that made Nightmare on Elm Street. Also, The Hills Have Eyes, but that's not on here. And Wes Craven. And it's kind of a meta thing where it's like, yeah, we watch horror movies too. We're cool kids. And it did really well. I think it's a really good movie, personally. It's a good slasher. It's interesting. I don't want to reveal the big twist at the end. It's just got violence. You know. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, another favorite of mine. A group of teenagers go out in the middle of Texas, slowly get picked off by a cannibalistic family, introduced a lot of classics. Leatherface, he wears the faces of his victims, wields the chainsaw, massacre. Cannibalistic family, eats people. There's a lot of disturbing. It's very gritty. It's what I've heard described as a grindhouse film. And that's how it feels. It's it's almost like there's filth covering the camera because it's just so gritty. The Blair Witch Project, probably the first successful big found footage film. Cannibal Holocaust was first, I think, but that is not on this list for some reason. It basically follows three people wandering around the woods going, and that's it. It is so boring. It's a dumb movie. The Conjuring is the most successful, highest grossing horror film franchise of all time. Wow. It's got like 9 movies too. It's got like The Nun and stuff. Anyway, the first movie follows just a family with their standard haunting. A witch named Bathsheba haunts them from their basement. So, you know, standard haunting movie. The Exorcist is the classic. That classic, I think, 1971, I think. And it follows the exorcism of a girl named Reagan by 2 Catholic priests. It's got a lot of classics. Okay, head spinning all the way around, vomit coming out the mouth, your mother sucks cocks in hell. That classic line. Love that line. I use that all the time. Again, attributed as one of the scariest movies of all time. People fainted in the movie theater, apparently. Also, they were in the 70s, and they're nerds, so they would have actually died if they saw Hostel, so. The Fly, David Cronenberg's magnum opus. I'm just kidding, he probably has better movies, but the most well-known one is a body horror film starring Jeff Goldblum as a scientist who invents a teleportation device which teleports him and a fly together, merging their DNA, and then he slowly transforms into this horrifying fly abomination that, slowly melts his body apart. And it's really gross. David Cronenberg's the king of body horror, so it's really nasty, okay? That's actually disturbing. The Ring is a film adaptation from The Ring, or just Ring, or Ringu, whatever you want to say it, from a Japanese movie, which is an adaptation of a book. So we're just going all the way. Anyway, it's got the classic. You pop in a videotape that everyone says, yeah, die if you watch it, and these idiots still manage to watch the whole thing. And a week later, a little girl pops out of your TV and drags your soul to hell. Got the big messy hair, all that. It's referenced everywhere. The Shining. Stanley Kubrick, again, who did Clockwork Orange. And one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion. Again, okay. In the Overlook Hotel, the Torrance family's trapped in for the winter. Then ghosts make Jack Torrance go insane and chase his family down with an axe and murder some folks. And The Shining. And just watch it. If you haven't seen it, honestly, what are you doing? Just go watch it. It's good. The Thing, another one of my favorites. They got a lot of my favorites up here. I'm sorry. A group of researchers are trapped in an Antarctic base, and they must survive an alien that can assimilate them. It's got a lot of paranoia, who's the alien, who's not. Classic blood work scene. Just those practical effects. Was not highly rated when it came out back in 1982. I believe is when it came out. But those critics would know quality if it crawled up their urethra, so I do not respect them. I hope those critics are rolling in their little stupid critic graves right now. Universal Monsters is a collection of monster movies from the 30s to 50s. Dracula, Frankenstein, Creature of Black Lagoon, The Invisible Man, just everything. Really, the starting foundation of horror, because these things were getting pumped out. They weren't even that bad. Well, no, I've never seen one, but apparently they weren't even that bad. And, I think they're really influential. They laid the groundwork for the rest of the horror franchise. Because, Nosferatu was so hated it was burnt. So, clearly these were doing something right, because they're still around. American Horror Story, we're on to TV shows now instead of movies, is an anthology series where each season follows a different story, kind of like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but that's not on here apparently because they're stupid, but whatever. And the only season I know anything about is this 4th season Freak Show, where a killer clown and other paranormal forces track down and hunt this circus and some other folks from Florida. I hear it's pretty good. I don't know. I watched like a 2-hour video on why the 12th season sucked, so I don't know. I'm not watching it all. Courage the Cowardly Dog was an animated show. Courage the Cowardly Dog was an animated show from the 1998 to 2000, I believe. And it follows Courage the Cowardly Dog as he battles mysterious forces in the middle of nowhere. That's the actual place. To protect his new owners. I used to watch it, and I didn't find it that scary. It's mainly a kid's show, but there are some unsettling scenes, some unsettling creatures. There's some really bad CGI, which is always uncanny, so. Death Note is an anime with 37 episodes. It follows Light Yagami when he gets the Death Note. Anyone's name he writes in it dies, and then it follows the ensuing investigation as Light tries to cover up his tracks and the detective L tries to find him. It's one of the best animes of all time. Not too disturbing, nothing too violent, but again, Nasty Patty. I actually have some lore about this one. Hold on. Nasty Patty is the 44th episode in the 3rd season of SpongeBob SquarePants from 2001. It follows a health inspector coming into the Krusty Krab. Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob think he's a fake guy, so they give him a real nasty patty. A fly flies into his mouth and knocks him out. They have to hide what they think is a dead body, which is where most of the disturbing parts come from, of Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob stuffing a body into a freezer and lying to the cops. Neon Genesis Evangelion is another anime series. Very good. Okay, I've seen it all. And let me tell you, I don't want to spoil it for you. It gets real disturbing, alright? The basic plot is spineless coward Shinji is forced into a mecha called Eva's to fight big monsters called angels, but that is not all. That is not all. That's not that disturbing. In the movie, it gets wild, man. It gets wild. That's all I'll say. Pibby Apocalypse, which is really called Come and Learn with Pibby. Pibby Apocalypse is a Friday Night Funkin' mod, which is not a TV show. Stupid night owl. I'm just kidding. Anyway, Pibby Apocalypse / Come and Learn with Pibby is a 2-minute, 30-second short that aired on Adult Swim about a fake kid show, Come and Learn with Pibby, getting corrupted by an evil force, which then spreads to other shows that Pibby travels to and corrupts, like the Flintstones and Adventure Time and The Amazing World of Gumball. It's nothing too bad, but it was pretty good. I saw it when it came out, and I was like, wow, that's pretty good. Are they making a show? They're not making a show. Pibby Apocalypse is a Friday Night Funkin' mod following that. I'm not going to go in any detail on that. Squid Game is a 2021 Korean thriller about a bunch of people that compete in kids' games for a whole lot of money. I think it's like $1 billion. And yeah, there's violence. I think it's more the concept that's disturbing to most people, because Mr. Beast has proven that people will pounce on this and bite it with the bit. So this is definitely possible. I'm just saying, you can do this, Mr. Beast. You can make real Squid Game happen. I'm not talking about that baby stuff you pulled. Real Squid Game. Stranger Things, classic, like 2016. It's got like 4 seasons. The basic rundown is the Upside Down dimension is a spooky dimension with a bunch of spooky guys in it, and it's kind of coming into our world, and a group of freaking D&D nerds have to fight it with a Russian experiment named 11. And that's the basic gist I got. The Walking Dead is a dumb show with 11 seasons where zombies aren't the real danger. People are. It's based off the comic of the same name. And I don't know. I don't like it. It's just been going on too long. I used to watch it, but I don't like it. It's got like 4 spin-off shows too. It's just a lot. It's amazing that anyone got bitten by these zombies. They move like they are an actual corpse. There's no one could have gotten bit by these things. The X-Files is another 11 season long show where 2 FBI agents go and hunt down scary guys. Like a family that keeps a female under their bed to impregnate over and over again. It is their relative. It is really nasty. Or there's like the Fluke Man, which is a parasite that looks really gross. I hear it's a classic. They did a collab with The Simpsons, so they can't be that bad. Treehouse of Horror. Speak of the devil! Treehouse of Horror from The Simpsons. Started in their 2nd season, and it's just a Halloween special they do every season with a couple short stories of horror, like Bart turning into a vampire, Bart having an evil twin, or Maggie actually being an alien, or the teachers from Springfield Elementary are turned into cannibals. It's not really that disturbing. Like, as a kid, yeah, I can see how it would freak you out. It's supposed to. But it's not gonna, like, make you piss your pants or anything, you know? Twin Peaks was a kind of offbeat show from back, like, 19 99, I think, and then it was picked back up for a third season, 2017. It's also a titty restaurant where waitresses have their titties out, which is cool. Anyway, it follows an FBI agent investigating the paranormal murder in Twin Peaks, Washington. I hear it's got some like some weird humor, and I don't know. I don't know too much about it. Wormy. I have some more information on Wormy. Wormy is the 25th episode in the second season of SpongeBob SquarePants, where SpongeBob and Patrick are supposed to babysit a caterpillar. It hatches into a butterfly and has this horrifying realistic face as it flies around and causes havoc. It freaks everyone out. It is freaky. I watched this when it came out, and I would change the channel because it spooked the poo-poo out of me, dude. I was a little baby. I was the target audience, and that scared the bejesus out of me. Why would they air that? Now, on to video games. Baldi's Basics in Education and Learning came out in like 2018 by Basically Games. It follows the first-person survival horror genre as it riffs on the education game thing from the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. Kind of like Reflex Math or something. Those crappy old, like, handheld education things, like Leapfrog. And you go around and you have to escape the school from the evil principal or teacher or whatever named Baldi. It's just one of those crappy mascot horrors that was really big at the time, took off. Indy and the Ink Machine follows a guy named Joey Drew going back to an old animation studio, which is now haunted by demons that take the form of the old animations. Another mascot horror bonanza. Big Boo's Haunt is a level in Super Mario 64 that is just Mario running around a haunted mansion, avoiding boos and such. The big calling card of this level is the haunted piano, which snaps to life and chomps after you. Which apparently scared a lot of people as kids. I do not understand. It was not that scary. I played the game. I was a kid. It's not that scary, guys. You just babies. BioShock is basically this guy goes down to a big bubble under the ocean, which is all kinds of messed up. Very corrupted, guys, mutants running around everywhere. Apparently one of the best games of all time, though. I don't have a lot of time left. My phone is basically out of storage, so I'm going to be speeding through the rest of these. Danganronpa is an anime game where a group of teenagers, I guess, are trapped in a big house where they have to murder each other, but you can get put on trial, and if you're found guilty, you get executed in an extremely brutal way, which is where most of the disturbing part comes from. Dark Souls, you're just some random corpse that gets life, and you have to go link the fire. You have to go through a lot of decrepit, horrifying areas with a bunch of decrepit, horrifying enemies that were probably once humans. Very disturbing when you think about it, but when you're actually playing it, you just get really, really pissed that they are all so hard. Doki Doki Literature Club, plot twist, is a horror game. That's right, everyone knows by now. But when it first came out, everyone was like, oh, this classic anime novel, that's so cute. And then all the girls start killing themselves, and turns out Monica, one of the girls, is an omnipotent goddess inside the world of the code. And she kills all the other girls so she can be with you. It's just a cool plot twist. Doom, one of the first and very best first-person shooters, follows the Doom guy as he goes through hell that has erupted onto Mars, and he kills a bunch of demons, and he fights the Icon of Sin, and it has a lot of games in the franchise, and most of them are pretty good. So, I like Doom. Five Nights at Freddy's. Do I even have to explain? 3 words. Haunted animatronics. Kill. Yeah. And it's basically it. If you don't know FNAF, you don't know anything. Granny is a crappy mobile game that came out a while ago. Another mascot horror attempt, okay? Like, brain rot skibbity toilet kids like Granny, but no one else likes Granny because it's a crappy game. I'm pretty sure you are trapped in a house with Granny and you have to escape her. She's got like a baseball bat or something. It's like a puzzle game, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know. Hello Neighbor, another crummy mascot horror game. You have to break into the neighbor's house and find out what he's hiding, and it's a really bad game, and he's not hiding anything. It all sucks. Lavender Town from Pokemon. Most people are scared of this just from the creepypasta, but the actual video game, it's just a place with like the Pokemon Cemetery Tower. Sure, yeah, dead Pokemon's scary. But people are mostly afraid of Lavender Town for the creepypasta and music associated with it. Poppy Playtime is another mascot horror thing. It sucks. You go to abandoned toy factory and Poppy Playtime pops out at you. Huggy Wuggy time. Zoomer brain rot, dude. It sucks. Resident Evil, a zombie outbreak takes over Raccoon City, and you have to fight through the police department in the sewers to kill this virus. It gets really off plot at some point, like you go to Spain to rescue the president's daughter in the 4th game, okay? But the 1st game, mainly disturbing for zombies and disturbing enemy design and such. Silent Hill is kind of the same. The town of Silent Hill is trapped in this nightmare dimension where people are corrupted, and it's pretty disturbing, from like the nurses and Pyramid Head, but that's like the 2nd game, I think. Anyway, just mainly disturbing enemy designs. Also, at one point, I know a woman eats a fetus of a dead god, so it gets out there too. The Last of Us is another zombie survival, but this time a fungus takes over the human race, and it's got some really disturbing enemies, just like the last 2 games. Again, all the concepts are scary and disturbing, but I don't know, I feel like most of you know this stuff. Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. The main disturbing part is when the moon crashes into the earth every 3 days, and then you're sent back in time 3 days to stop it again. But the moon's pretty scary because it has a big face and it's really big and it comes at you and it's scary, and you're a child and you're crying because you've just let the Thor or whatever it's called die for the 47th time because you're stupid and don't know what to do. Unagi the eel is from Dire Docks in Super Mario 64. It's just a big eel that pops out at you, and yeah, it's pretty freaky looking, especially with the old graphics. I can see how a kid would get scared by that. I was scared by that. So I can see why Unagi the eel freaks some kids out. I'll give them a pass. Now on to internet media. We've got 4chan. Personally, I go on the X-board sometimes, but mainly a lot of weird stuff comes from like X and B and stuff. It's an old image board from like 2002, I think, that has a lot of degenerates on it because of the anonymous nature, the fact that they don't really censor or ban anything unless it's like illegal, or they just think it's really low effort. And so a lot of kind of weird stuff pops up on it sometimes, like murder cases, and like there's some real murderers that have been on 4chan, bank robbers, mysteries. There's a lot of 4chan mysteries you can research, but mainly it's just BBC porn and like losers on the internet. Creepypasta originated as short form horror things to be sent over the email. Just like, don't look behind you, send this to 12 people or your urethra gets yanked out by Spooky Man. And then it evolved into actual effort, like horror stories, which evolved into just writing regular horror stories for the internet and ARG and stuff. You know, classics like Sonic EXE, Jeff the Killer, Slender Man, Link Drowned. Those are all creepypastas. But I feel like they've kind of lost the original creepypasta spirit of being able to be sent over email easily. They're just internet horror stories, basically. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared was an internet series with puppets that would pretend to be like a kid's show thing before devolving into body horror and such. It got a show recently, and I hear it's pretty good, so you should check it out. I've watched the internet part, and it's good. The internet series is really good. So Elsagate was a big controversy on like YouTube Kids, where these YouTube content farms would pump out really grotesque kid-centered content like pregnant Elsa farts on Spider-Man, Joker kidnaps lethal injected Elsa and they make baby. Just adult geared content geared towards kids with like these flashy clickbait titles, and it was really disturbing. It kind of seemed like they were grooming, but I feel like what really happened is these algorithms kind of picked up what kids were clicking on. So if you see Elsa getting injected, you're gonna click on that rather than seeing Elsa and Spider-Man kiss, because you've never seen Elsa get injected before. You've seen Spider-Man and Elsa kiss before, and so I feel like it was a natural snowball effect. It was a really big deal, which is interesting to learn about. Happy Tree Friends is a classic from back in the day, pretended again to be a kid's show before devolving into just characters getting brutally murdered and killed. Kind of like, I don't know, there's a war vet animal, and he like snaps and goes crazy and murders people. That's basically every episode. It starts off innocent, and then all the kids and all the animals get murdered. Internet screamers it was an old trend where you would like see a quiet and calm hill and a car is driving by, and then a big thing would pop up and scream at you. That was what happened, like the Exorcist face or zombies or something. It originated with the something else on this iceberg. I know I saw it there. Coffee screamers, which is a part of the advertising, and we'll get to that later. Jeff the Killer is a creepypasta. I've read it on this channel. It's really bad. Basically, a kid cuts off his eyelids and gives himself a Glasgow smile because he goes crazy. He goes crazy because his face gets burnt with bleach and vodka, and he murders people now, and the internet corrupted him into a bottom for Slender Man. Momo challenge was this scary face, and I don't remember exactly what the challenge was. I was around when it got big. I'm pretty sure if you stared at it, they were like, Momo's gonna sew up and eat you or something. This face just creeped people out. I think it was a sculpture or like a wax sculpture. It's obviously not real, but I don't remember how they made it. It's not CGI, it's practical, but again, just a scary face. Mr. Incredible becoming uncanny is just a meme format where it's kind of like an iceberg where it slowly gets more and more obscure or more disturbing, and Mr. Incredible just reflects how disturbing or obscure it is by becoming less and less jovial and more dark. It's not really, I guess it could be creepy, I don't know. It plays creepy music with each tear. It's something. Slender Man's another creepypasta. This time it's just a guy that sits in the back and corrupts children. There was a real murder case involving Slender Man, which I don't have time to get into because I'm so constantly worried. I had to delete 700 images just to take this video. So I am constantly worried about running out of space, so I'm trying to hurry up the best I can. I want to get this out. It's a cultural zeitgeist. You know Slender Man. I know you do. Tall, lanky guy, corrupts people. The Backrooms has turned into children brain rot, but what it originally was is you could no clip out of reality and go into liminal spaces. And these liminal spaces would be infinite, and you were all alone, and there was the illusion of a monster, but you don't know. Basically, it's just like the existential horror of, oh my god, I can't escape here. I'm going to starve to death here. Oh my god. Or I'm going to go insane and lose my mind. And then it was turned into Huggy Wuggy and Backrooms at 2 a.m. challenge. Stupid. Trevor Henderson is a guy that makes a lot of CGI, 2D, whatever, practical monsters, body horror. He has an Instagram. He made Cartoon Cat, Siren Head, some more baby brain rot stuff. Sadly, he was corrupted. He does some really good stuff. 1984 is like a 1950s novel by George Orwell. Basically, everyone in the future, not everyone, A certain country in the future exists in a super police state where everything is monitored by Big Brother. They constantly watch. You can't have like affairs and love that isn't approved by the state. They can torture you. There's the hating hour where you hate everyone else for an hour. It's a big warning on what big government could do to the future of humanity. And it's pretty relevant. I think it's a good book. Another one by George Orwell is Animal Farm, which has a pig named Napoleon take over an animal farm and become like a communist leader. But it was banned in America for being pro-communist, and it was banned in the Soviet Union for being anti-communist. So these guys just want to ban anything controversial. It's another good book by George Orwell that shows like how absolute power corrupts absolutely, stuff like that. Batman the Killing Joke. Joker kidnaps George Gordon. Is that his name? Commissioner Gordon, after paralyzing Barbara Gordon, which was a pretty big deal back then. They kept that around for a while. And subjecting Commissioner Gordon to like a fun ride of pictures of Barbara's mutilated body to try and go drive him insane. But he manages to stick it out. And at the end, it's kind of implied that Batman murders the Joker, even though obviously he didn't, but still. It's considered a very, very good comic book. They have a movie of it that's considered not very, very good, but decent enough. Carrie is a book by Stephen King, who shows up a lot in this tier. And it's about a psychic girl named Carrie in high school. And she has a super religious mother. Kids bully her a lot. Finally, she's gonna go to the homecoming and she gets pig blood poured on her. And she murders everyone in the homecoming thing. And she blows up cars, she murders her mom, she kills herself. It's a very big deal, all right? Most people know it for the movie, but the book adds in some extra stuff, like she destroys the town, I'm pretty sure. It's just the classic teenage girl with psychic powers. Cujo is another Stephen King book about a dog with like rabies or the mange or something, traps a mom and her son in a car for like 3 days, and eventually I think she just murders him with a bat or something. But again, better well known for the movie. I've never read the book. Stephen King books are like this thick. Dracula is a very classic horror book. It's presented as like newspaper clippings, I think, and journal entries and diaries following the discovery of Dracula as he comes to America from Transylvania on a boat to try and take over the New World. There's a very good video on Overly Sarcastic Productions about it, which is where I've learned about it, so you should just watch that. I don't know. Look it up. They're a good channel. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is a book I've actually read. Very good. It's about Victor Frankenstein, of course, sewing together corpses to create the perfect human form. He gives it life, and then the book's like Victor Frankenstein running away from his mistake as the monster's trying to figure out what it is and what it is supposed to do. Goosebumps is a book series for children. It's scary. But none of it's like too graphic or anything. None of it's too scary. I mean, sure, some of them are scarier than others, but none of them are like gonna get you banned from the school library scary. They're just kid horror books, which, being aimed at kids get scared easy. I'm sure there were some which scared kids. It is another Stephen King novel, which follows a town in Maine, of course, because it's Stephen King, that is haunted by an extraterrestrial alien being that feeds on fear, but he takes the form of a clown most of the time. And he haunts and eats and murders the children in this small Maine town. It's got a lot of other stuff like domestic abuse and sexual harassment, and they have a child orgy in the sewers and stuff like that, but that's not relevant. Pet Sematary, it's another Stephen King book where this guy loses his son, so he goes to bury him in the pet cemetery, which is on a Wendigoon ritual ground. whatever. I know there's a Wendigo. I said Wendigo, didn't I? Wendigo magic involved. Anyway, it revives pets from the dead, but this time he buries a human there, and it revives the little boy. He starts murdering people. He murders his mom. The mom is then buried in the pet cemetery. That's the cliffhanger. Sonic.exe. I also read this one, I'm pretty sure, and it's another really bad creepypasta about a haunted game with Sonic in it, and he kills everyone, and he has hyper-realistic blood eyes, and it's very scary. It's not scary. It's not. It sucks. But it's another classic creepypasta up there with Slenderman and Jeff the Killer. Stephen King novels. Stephen King is a classic horror novelist. He's written 4 of like the 8 things up here. He is just prolific. He's written The Mist, The Shining, a lot of classics. I don't have time to get into them all, but I know he has written a lot. Lord of the Flies is about a bunch of British schoolboys who get crashed onto a desert island, and they try and organize themselves into a society, but that doesn't work out, and chaos reigns in the end, and the little boy gets stabbed to death and beaten to death because they think he's a monster, and another little boy gets crushed with a boulder. His name's Piggy. Spoiler alert, but this came out 60 years ago, so you should have read it by now. I read it in school, thought it was good. It's a good movie. Not movie. Book. It's a good book. I'm losing my mind out here. I've been doing this for like 2 hours. My videos are constantly getting corrupted because my phone doesn't have enough storage for this. I'm doing a lot for you guys. Coffee Screamers was the thing that started Screamers back in the day. Again, Quiet Hill. The first one is this: you follow a car on a quiet hill, and then a big ghost guy jumps out at you and scares you, and it's supposed to simulate what it's like to drink their coffee. I think it's a German coffee company, and it really worked, so they made a few more. And if I was a little boy and I got a Coffee Screamer advertisement, thank God I didn't get Screamers. I wasn't around that long. But I would have pissed my pants, dude. Genuinely scared me. Okay, it's like a jump scare. It's like FNAF, but still. War propaganda can be disturbing, can be creepy. I mean, a lot of like our war propaganda has been, we need you to fight for us, boys. We need you to fight these evil Nazi scum. But some of it's also like, these stupid, insert Asian slur, need to be stopped and exterminated. A lot of war propaganda is just like, we need to kill all of these monsters from this other nation. You need to kill them now. So yeah, it can be disturbing. The Scream is a classic painting. Let me look up who it's by, because I feel like I should throw that in. Yeah. Edvund Munch in 1993. In 1893 by Edvund Munch. He saw the sun setting, and he described it as a scream cutting across the sky. So he painted it. It's very classic. Everyone knows the Scream. You've seen the Scream before. I'm just explaining a little bit of the backstory. Again, I'm scared of the battery dying or the memory going dead. Cryptids, kind of like urban legends. They're just creatures that science can't prove aren't real. Are real, I mean. You can't prove they're real. Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, some of my personal favorites are Mothman. I like Mothman. It's just the spooky monsters of the American West and foreign places like the Yeti. There's some classic monsters, there's some obscure ones. I love cryptids. I could talk about them all day, so I want to keep this short. And finally, emergency alert systems. Obviously, when there's a tornado, you need to wake people up. So they have these horrifying sirens that go and wake you up. So you know that, oh my God, there's a tsunami coming towards my house. And yes, when you're a kid, when I was a kid, and the TV would start playing the emergency alert, or the radio would start playing the emergency alert, I would cover my ears and put my head down and start shaking because it scared me so bad. But that's the point. So yes, that is, yes. Okay, this has taken me a really long time. I'm recording this on my iPhone because I don't have a camera. I mean, I do, but I don't know how to work it, and it's also 2 hours away at my real house. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I've had to re-record it a bunch of times. It's probably taken me like 3 hours in total. I'm just really, now I have to edit it too. Anyway, I'm not doing this again unless this gets traction. Unless this gets some views and likes, I'm not doing the second tier. But I will if it does. I might get my camera, I might not, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching if you watched this long. I probably didn't do a good job explaining. I'm sorry. I wasn't gonna write the rest of that script, it was miserable. But I will have better knowledge for the next year if this, again, does happen. Thank you. I love you. Like and subscribe and like and subscribe and like and subscribe.